Today's video is about the topic of me maybe moving to Nikon or Sony. I know, big surprise, me moving to either Sony or Canon. Which one yet? We'll speak about my ideas and maybe a bit of your help as well. You might be able to help towards this if you're a Canon or Sony user, but we'll get onto that later in the video. One thing we're going to get on with right now though is collecting my laptop. I might have mentioned in a past video that my laptop has gone wrong. Basically the keyboard went wrong, so I could only use certain keys. Then it all went wrong, and then the main problem was the on button, the power button for the laptop, was on the keyboard itself, so I couldn't actually turn on the laptop. And I thought, oh no, this is going to be a really expensive problem. It's going to cost me like 200 quid or something. No, it hasn't actually cost me that much for the repair. What we're going to do now is go and collect the laptop, and then we're going to do some photography because we have got some pretty awesome fog today. It's just basically sea threat, so we'll get some really cool shots of that, and then we'll get on with the topic of today's video of me maybe moving to Sony or Canon, my reasoning behind it, and my first impressions and what I'm currently thinking about from moving from the Nikon Z6. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, we've got to get going. Finally take this thing off. Does anyone else keep losing these? Like literally I keep putting this down and completely losing it and then have to find it again. I always carry a spare in my camera bag just in case I lose one. I'm terrible sometimes at putting things down and then completely forgetting where they are. But anyway, we're on the way to get the laptop now.
Okay. Scott, is it?
Curtis Padley.
Oh yeah, sorry,
No problem.
Yeah, I did share the screen, yeah. Do you want to check it over?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant, thank you.
And you can just come and collect it, so in that case, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you so much for your help. Thank you. So technically, my breakfast right now, and it's 12 o'clock. I haven't eaten today. Greg's sausage, bean and cheese melt. So good. And the best thing is when you have a good pastry like this, it's awful when it's too cold, and it's awful when it's too warm. When you get it like this, just right, it makes your whole day better. So that's lunch slash breakfast complete. Absolutely gorgeous. I just have to swap the battery out for the Nikon because it died and I didn't fully charge it last night because I'm me. And so yeah, basically the laptop, we have fixed the laptop. It's kind of jammed in here. The main problem with the laptop I was finding was basically just the keyboard. The keyboard wouldn't actually allow me to type on it at all. And now it is fixed, and I was really expecting this to have to be a replacement keyboard. I was really concerned about the price of that because it is technically a gaming slash light editing laptop. It isn't the best for editing, but it does the job well enough for what I need it to right now. So I'm pretty happy with the laptop, but I'm so happy that I've been able to get it fixed, and it only cost me £54. The issue in the end, I mean, look right now, it is typing again. I am so happy, but the issue basically was some loose connectors. I was expecting to have to get a proper, new keyboard, which will cost me maybe like £200, and I was just like, ouch, that's gonna sting the bank a bit. But no, they just I only had to pay for the inspection fee, which was £54, and £54 to get this whole computer fixed again and working again is worth it in my mind. This would have been so helpful if I was at the Lake District because I didn't have a laptop whatsoever, and it just would have been making things so much easier, but better late than never. Also, I hope the audio wasn't like terrible right there because it is a little bit windy and rainy. Still got some fog though, so we're going to do some photography next. That fog is pretty impressive and could make for some great photographs. But the thing I'm really baffled by is the amount of people still on the beach. Brits are really determined to have a beach holiday sometimes. Even if it's foggy, even if it's raining, sometimes you'll at least spot one person lying on the beach just having the time of their life. I've got to give it to them. That is commitment. I would not be jumping in that sea right now. It looks freezing. I'm wearing this big coat and I'm a bit chilly. People are mental sometimes. So I better get on starting talking about today's topic, stop putting off the inevitable, and that is, why am I considering selling the Nikon Z6? Now the Nikon Z6 is probably the best camera I have possibly ever owned. It is fantastic. For videos like this, it's very good. For photography, it is fantastic. The photographs I've been able to capture with this sensor, with this camera, with this 24-70mm lens has been incredible. But for me, Nikon are missing a few firmware things that I would really like in their cameras and a little bit of hardware. Let me explain. Now for me, the obvious choices to move to are Canon and Sony. But why am I moving away from Nikon? What hardware is it possibly missing? Well, for me, the adapter to start off. Adapter for the Nikon Z6 doesn't really work. That air horn is going to become a problem. The adapter doesn't work. I tried it with a few of my lenses and it just has that focus grinding issue. And immediately that renders all like the hundreds of, I think it's hundreds or at least nearly hundreds of lenses made by Nikon pointless. They render them useless if you want to use them on a Nikon Z6 for video. For photography, they work really well, but I have started entering the realm of doing a lot more video. I've had this camera a year now, and I've started pushing video a lot more, especially in the last few months. I really have started pushing it, and the Nikon Z6 with the flat video is just not the nicest thing to colour grade. I've been able to do quite well with it, but I would prefer a log mode in my camera. So there are two things it's really missing. It's missing the firmware and the hardware. Now a lot of you might be thinking there is the Atomos Ninja V, which basically gives me all the filming settings I want through this camera, but it's external. And if I'm running and gunning like this, you know, sometimes I'm not going to be able to have the monitor with me because it's a bit bulky, sometimes it's a bit heavy, another thing to carry in your camera bag. So it doesn't really have the huge benefits. If it was internal, completely different story. But technically as well, the Atomos Ninja V isn't mine. I've got it given to me on loan for extended loan period where I can just keep using it, keep practicing with it as much as I want, which is fantastic. But I'm never going to have that forever. It will eventually have to be handed back. So technically, I can't really often shoot in that mode if I wanted to without carrying the monitor with me. Now, of course, there are a couple of cameras. Now, the Canon R5, even the foghorn's telling me to avoid it. It's like, no! Because, well, the Canon R5 is a fantastic camera, but it's got the main problem, overheating. And I don't think that's going to be an easy fix. And it does shoot all the settings I want. It has a log mode, which C-Log is really good. It would be great to see a C-Log 3 in it instead of C-Log 2. It does have 422 and it does have 10-bit. Now that would be fantastic for filmmaking if it didn't overheat. So the Canons are really rendered useless, and as well I don't want to feel like I'm downgrading. I want to feel like I'm upgrading to a camera. But the other thing is with Canon, the glass is really expensive, but the adapter works. So I could pick up a 24 to 35 f2, no problem. So Canon is a really good option if it didn't overheat. Now, I don't know how much the firmware update is going to be able to fix it, and honestly, I want a secure, reliable camera. I don't want something that I'm going to have to wait for to film, and I don't want to often be shooting in the low quality modes neither, because they do lose a little bit of quality. And honestly, if you're paying £4,200, you want to have the high quality modes that you are going to want to be using consistently across the board, no matter when or where you are shooting. That camera restricts that for you. So that leaves one final camera manufacturer to choose from, Sony. Now, I haven't made a final decision yet. This is just my brain process, me thinking what is best for the future if I'm doing photography and filming. I had a mate who messaged me and said, right, stop looking at the Canon, stop waiting for updates from it, just look at Sony and type in lenses on Amazon or anything, just look up the lenses. I looked at the lenses and I was a kid in a candy store. I kept messaging him and saying, they have this, they have that, they have this. I'm like, what? They have all this to choose from? It's incredible. On the Nikon Z6, if I wanted a 51.8, it would cost me £500. If I wanted a 51.4 on the Sony, it'd be roughly the same price. Like, that immediately just kind of sold me on potentially moving to Sony because of the lens choices. Another lens example, the 24-70 f4 I'm shooting on right now, if I wanted the 24-70 f2.8 version, it cost £2,000. If I wanted that on the Sony, I could get a Sigma one that is just as good as the Sony one for £800. £1,200 cheaper than Nikon. That is not a small chunk of change, that is a humongous chunk of change that I could then put into saving it, or even better, investing in extra glass. So with Sony, I was immediately spoiled. I was like, I don't know what to choose. I actually had more of a struggle ever to choose which cameras I'd start off with if I was to go with Sony. Now, in terms of cameras, I'm not interested in the A7Siii. I would be if it had a 24.5 megapixel sensor. A 12.5 I think it has isn't for me. It's more video than photography, but that does give me hope for the future with Sony. With these amazing video features they have compacted into this camera, that in the future they'll be putting it into their other mirrorless bodies. So which camera for now? Well, I am quite tempted by the 7R4. That looks like a really good camera, has a really good sensor for photography, and it seems to do a very similar job to the A7Siii for video. Yes, it has a higher megapixel sensor, which isn't always the best for filmmaking, but for photography I think it'd be really good. And again, I wanted it to feel like an upgrade from the Nikon Z6, and I think for what I needed to do, it'd be really good. And the most important thing for me is the lenses. It's the lenses, it's the hardware, it's everything I need in the camera to give me the best chance of getting what I want to capture in the camera. Shooting with a 24-70 f4 on the Nikon Z6 isn't going to be good for everything, and it's the only lens I've had for the whole year. So it is the next day, and this is just a little update, and I have decided now I am going to be selling the Nikon Z6 and I am going to be moving to either Sony or Canon. You will find out in a few weeks' times which one I have decided to move to. But yeah, this is going to be really strange because it'll be the first time I won't be shooting with a Nikon camera. For the last 9 years, I have been using Nikon, and it is really weird to be moving away from them. So there's a lot I'm selling. I'm selling the Z6, I'm selling the 51.8, I'm selling the D7-500. I just sold the 55-300mm lens, and I'm also selling the Sigma 150-600mm lens. But I think for the future, it is best for me to move from Nikon and go to another camera manufacturer. Now, I didn't say why this all randomly sparked. Why did this all happen? The Nikon 24-70 right in front of me had some problems. It's a bit scratched because it might have been dropped. It also was hit by a radiator. It's a bit damaged right here, or just off to the left. I was at an abandoned building and I was removing a heavy radiator unit out the way. Didn't realise in the pitch black my camera was there, smacked it and damaged the lens a bit, and also the weather sealing has been a bit ruined. The rest of the camera itself, perfectly fine. It was just like the lens took the brunt of it all. So yeah, body's completely fine. The lens will need to be an insurance job. And from that it made me realise that if I break this lens, if this lens goes wrong, then I'm left without native glass and I can't film my videos. I could buy other glass, but as I mentioned earlier, the Nikon glass is really expensive. At least now I can go to a camera manufacturer, get 2 cameras that do both video and photography, and it just makes things a lot easier for myself. I maybe have 2 cameras that are equally as good for video, of great lenses to support both cameras. That was kind of my reasoning behind it, and it made me realise that maybe Nikon isn't the best one for the future. Now that also means that in the next few weeks I might not be releasing videos as frequently or at all whilst I work on this transition to one to the other. But don't worry, I will be coming back. We will be making a lot more content with the new cameras I'll be going for. We're doing unboxings. I'm hopefully going to do a cinematic video as like a goodbye to Nikon and hello to Sony or Canon. So there is a lot of exciting projects to come back to. Also, I will be probably moving back into York, which I'm really excited for because I get to be back in a city, so I'll have access to York, Leeds, Manchester very easily. I'll also be able to go to Harewood to go and take photos of the red deers. I will have everything back at my fingertips for photography, and there's going to be a lot more to explore. So make sure you are subscribed, make sure you do follow this, because there is a lot of great content we're going to be making in the future. And just over this next couple of weeks, it's going to be a bit of a rough patch for myself trying to make content. I'm going to try and review the hashtag CP photos. I'm going to try and do some other content. I've got some other videos planned. Some of it is reliant on the weather, but again, it's been foggy for the last few days, so you just really have to bear with me. And I would like to say a massive thank you to everyone who is bearing with me, who is understanding in this situation. But yeah, there will be light at the end of the tunnel, and we will then get to a whole new world of content creating, and I am really excited for that. And hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If you also have any suggestions or any tips about moving to Sony or Canon, please let me know in the comment section below. You know, maybe give your thoughts as well. It'd be really interesting to hear what other Sony or Canon shooters think about this move. And yeah, sorry Nikon, I'm moving. And I'm going to call the video here today. I hope it has been helpful. I hope you've also enjoyed this vlog-esque kind of video as well. If you have, drop it a like, drop your comments again. Great to hear your thoughts. And yeah, thank you very much for watching today's video. Take care everyone, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.